Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. On tonight's episode, I speak to a driver who's done a bit of everything from racing karts and speedway, as well as a wide variety of different cars over the years. He's currently racing in the Trans Am category, which is a category that keeps getting more and more popular. And, the more you guys race, the more popularity you guys are gaining. So it's really good seeing what you guys are doing. And I really look forward to finding out more about your racing and what you've done so far. So it's a big welcome to Jon McCorkindale. So how are you tonight, Jon?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
I
Appreciate it.
didn't I didn't butcher the last name, did I?
Nah, it's pretty long though, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's why they call me John Mac or J Mac, so it's a lot easier.
cool. I'll keep that in mind if I have to bring up your last name again, just to keep it nice and short. In the early
Yeah.
days, you did do some karting and speedway. So how did you first get into motorsport?
So my family's never done any motorsport, so I was pretty late in the piece. I had a farm. Or my family have a farm in Young, New South Wales. So we had motorbikes and Odysseys, and essentially I was watching a race one day and I asked Dad how to get into racing. So we sold the motorbike and Odysseys and bought our first go-kart, which was a Yamaha J.
That's pretty cool. And where did you first start off racing?
My local track was Grenfell track. Not sure if you know where that is. So it's about an hour or 45 minutes from Young.
All right.
And then we started off regional. So, Grenfell, Forbes, Orange, all those local tracks.
Very nice. And you also done a bit of dirt racing. Do you think it helped you with car control?
Yeah, no, it's been really good. So I think, like I said before, I actually even started karting. I would paddock bash in the mornings before I even went to school. So I learnt car control and dirt and stuff before I even thought about doing motorsport. So, but definitely, yeah, going into speedway, it definitely gives you a different set of skills. And I find, going into the rain or having, changeable conditions doesn't really affect me too much because, that's what speedway is. Every lap is different. So it's definitely been good to have that behind me. And it was only 4 short years, but definitely, helps me for the future.
100%. I can see how racing on dirt, it can help you transition when you go to asphalt. You can apply them skills over. Like I do a bit of rally on the side when I'm not doing Formula V. So I do believe it's a key feature to be able to race on dirt as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You only have to look at SVG. He's doing rally as well. And if you can have more skill sets behind you, you're just going to progress in motorsport more and more.
Yeah, 100%. And you've also won a few national and state rounds early on. So when did you in karting, sorry, I forgot to mention in sprint karting, how did
Yeah.
sort of pick up your skills and, get straight into winning?
Look, I think for me, it's growing up on the farm with cars, and like I said, in Honda Odysseys, we had the basic skill set of a driver. It wasn't straight away, but we sort of, it took me probably a year or two to get to that state and national level. But I think just having those skills that aren't necessarily motorsport related, but just hand-eye, just sort of progressed me a little bit quicker than usual. And me and Dad, we've always been hungry to move on to the next thing, hence why we haven't stayed around in categories for long, because essentially as soon as we win or do well, we want to progress to that next thing. So to chase a state and national title early was just was bound to happen.
When did you actually transition into cars and what was your first car?
So good question. So I was 15 in karting, and we just didn't have enough money to go circuit racing. So we decided to look at speedway. So we couldn't afford Formula V or Formula Ford or anything like that. So we went speedway and went into a junior sedan class, which was a 4-cylinder class, which was and my first car was a Honda Integra. So we done 1 year in that, and we placed second at the state titles that year, actually. And we sold the car on that night and moved on from there.
Geez, that must have been an achievement. And selling the car the night after is sort of, reminds you of the term wins on Sunday, sales on Monday sort of thing.
Yeah. It was actually that night, straight after the feature.
Oh, right.
So we're very lucky. Yeah. So we'd only just collected the trophy. And on my, collecting the trophy, I had a bit of a speech and I said, hey, guys, if anyone wants a good junior sedan car, come and see us in the pits. And we had a couple of people and we've actually had a bidding war for it. So by doing that, by placing well and taking an opportunity to sell that car, it helped us progress into the next category in speedway.
It's such a benefit when you're able to go out there and win straight away and able to move up, because I think you always need a challenge.
It's the best way to go, mate. Like,
Mm.
to have a championship behind you is definitely good. It's an accomplishment, but to win and move forward and challenge yourself every year, it's sometimes not rewarding because you don't get as many trophies and you don't get that number one on your door. But I'm 30 and I've had a 20-year career at the moment in motorsport, and to look back, I probably wouldn't change it. It's been cool to have so many classes and know so many people by doing all this stuff. It's you can walk up and down the pits and talk to 100 people. It's the journey, not the trophy at the end.
I guess it's all about, going out there and enjoying your passion. At the end of the day, lots of people, like, I'm out there to win, but when you go out there and have a lot of fun, like my family, we all go out there as a family and we have a great time. So it's so good, to bring home a good result, but it's also good just to have a bit of fun while you're out there and have a good weekend.
Well, fun breeds passion as well. If you're not having fun, you're not passionate. And if you're passionate about your sport, you're always going to do well. And to be honest with you, that's actually one of the reasons I got out of Super 2. I lost the passion. At the end of last year, I just couldn't justify going back. And I knew there and then it was either time to pack up or find a new class.
Yeah, well, you've jumped from classes to classes. So what different categories have you raced in? Once you started to move to bitumen, what classes did you decide to race on?
So my sponsors threw me in a what are they called, saloon cars for one round. From there, we progressed into Porsche Career Cup. Not Career Cup, Porsche Challenge. After that, I did 2 rounds of Turd 86. 2 rounds of 86, and then we progressed into Super 3, or what they used to call V8 touring cars. Stayed there for, I think, 3 or 4 years. Actually, sorry, tell a lie. I'll go back a step. We've actually done 2 rounds in Aussie cars for Scott Taylor Motorsport. So done Bathurst and Phillip Island for him. And then, Super 3, Super 2, and now Trans Am.
So you've obviously done a lot of stuff. And if we go back to the Porsches in 2014, you finished second at the end of the year. How hard was it to be able to achieve something that great?
Look, probably the biggest one for us is every category we've ever been in, and championship work with seconds and thirds and stuff like that. We've done it as a family team. It's only me and Dad. So as an accomplishment, I think it's pretty high for us to be able to to hold our head high for those sort of achievements. And we were always fighting the whole time for first. So it's not like they were streaks ahead. And we've got to race against the likes of Matty Campbell and some really great drivers along the way. So really happy with those achievements.
Yeah, I would be too. It's great to see what you've done, and especially because it's you and your dad. Family passion is what makes it all count at the end of the day. Some parents can't afford to take their kids racing, and even sometimes don't want to. So it's really great when you've got your family there.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Without my family, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. Like I said, I've been racing now for 20 years, and my screensaver is a photo of my whole family standing behind my car at the last round. So without them, I would have been nothing.
And what was it like for you to drive Aussie racing cars? Because they're pretty insane. And my last guest was Lachlan Wood, who currently drives them.
Lucky, yep.
Yeah, they're absolutely insane. So
Yeah.
what do you think of them?
Probably the most enjoyable class I've raced. Funny story, Scott Taylor rang me only a week before Bathurst, and he said, do you want to race Bathurst in an Aussie car? And I said, 1, I've never been to Bathurst, and 2, I've never driven an Aussie car. So I got to the point where practice 1, I didn't even know how to turn it on. So it was pretty daunting, I'll be honest. But at the end of Bathurst, the first round, we were fighting for first. And out of that, we were able to, Scotty said, okay, you've done really well. Do you want to do Phillip Island in the next round? But the only thing is, if you win, I get the trophy. So that was the only stipulation. And we won that round. And we had, 4 wide battles through turn 2 and turn 1 at Phillip Island. And it was just phenomenal racing. It was very enjoyable. And it's actually it's good to see a revival of that category over the last couple of years.
It's It had a little bit of a low point there at one point, and now
It did.
it's coming back up now, and it's really great to see. Lockie told me though they handle a bit like a go kart, just going a lot faster. Do you think it's sort of the same?
Similar, yeah, very similar in regards to left foot braking. You don't have the massive body roll of or weight time of like a supercar or a Porsche. So in regards to weight times and throttle progressions, yeah, you're pretty close. Yeah, it would probably be the easiest step from karting into a sedan. Would probably be Aussie race cars for sure.
And yeah, so you done the round at Phillip Island, which you did amazing at.
Yep,
And yeah, and to hand the trophy over, like you were saying. Um,
yep.
so when you were racing Porsches, it was obviously a great category to race in. Could you tell us a little bit about your experiences?
I really enjoyed Porsches. I think the way that Porsche Australia run that category and Career Cup is hands down one of the best categories in Australia. The cars are phenomenal. They're easy to run. As a family-run team, we could run 5 of them. They're that simple. I think the only reason we got out was because we couldn't afford the next car that was coming down. So because they got a 4-year lifespan of the Porsches. So for us to have zero knowledge of setup and like the things that we know now compared to what we used to know, we could go back to Porsches and go even better. Like I feel like as a team we've progressed so much further. But as amateurs, that was probably a really good class to start with because essentially you just turn the things on and go. There's very little setup you have to do to them.
Yeah, so it's obviously a difficult class to race in as we were watching at Townsville. Um, and it's great to see some more up and coming drivers, and I like to see the category, it's slowly moving up. But let's talk about Super 3. How did you get into all that?
Look, when we moved into 86s, we just didn't enjoy it. It was one of our only classes we really didn't enjoy our time in. So we had to look for something that was, how do I say, in the mainstream in regards for our sponsors. So we couldn't really go back to a Shannon's Nationals or what was Shannon's Nationals round. We had to move into like a category that was supported by supercars. So Super 3 at that time was a good mixture of Shannon's and supercars. And you could buy a car for about $100,000 because it was the older BAs, BFs.
Yeah.
So it was a good intermittent level where we could buy a car for a decent price, but also be in the mainstream to be able to build up our revenue through sponsorship.
Yeah, 100%. I can see, how the sponsors would love that. And, you've done a couple years. Can you tell us about, well, what was your favourite win in Super 3?
To be honest with you, it was actually at Phillip Island again in the wet. And I was so at that stage, BAs, BFs were versing the VEs and the newer model FVEs and FG Falcons. So I was in an older spec car and it rained. And we won by, I forget how many seconds, but we won by a mile. And it was just really cool to be able to drive through the pack, pick off the front 2 guys and just drive away and in older equipment. And, that was pretty and that was our first big win in Super 3. So it was probably a bit of a highlight for us.
Yeah, so you done Super 3 and then you said, once you do a fair bit of a category, the fun starts to run out a little bit. So then you moved to Super 2. What was that like for you?
It was good. So we started Super 3 at the start of 2019 and we had a really good back. This was round 1 and I think we polled it by 1.5 seconds or something like that. And that was, we spent a lot of money on that car that year to be able to build it up. And essentially because of that effort from us and winning that round, we got a phone call from a gentleman asking to buy that car. And because we were P1 in the championship, we essentially sold it for a bit of a premium, which allowed us to move into Super 2. And from there, we started contacting a few supercar teams and we done a deal with Barry and Gary Rogers to buy their VF.
Very nice. And, you moved to Super 2. You had a bit of success there. Was it in Super 2 where you won
the Gold Coast? No, that was Super 3.
That was Super 3.
Super 2, we did struggle a little bit. Our qualifying our race pace wasn't too bad, but we're still only hovering around the top 10 in Super 2. But, essentially that was as good as we got without spending, without mortgaging our houses for the next stage.
Yeah, it can be a very expensive sport, and especially when you're at the high level of Super 2, obviously versing the young guns who are, you're still pretty young in a way.
I'm an old man, you can say it. It's all right.
Well,
yeah.
In racing terms, you're getting a little bit older, but Super 2, you're up against the kids who are maybe a couple years older than me now. I'm 15, so yeah, they'll probably be 17 years old, and they're trying to, get into supercars.
Yeah, 18, 19, around that age.
So, going up against them would be very difficult, and, having supercars teams watching you, did you ever get a test in supercars?
No. Look, we've always had offers through everything we've done. 12 hours tests and stuff like that. But it's essentially, unfortunately, for young kids, if you're watching this, there's always money involved. And, hey, do you want to race 12-hour in an Audi? Yeah, I'd love to, but it's going to be $60,000. Or you want to do a test day in a supercar? Yeah, huge dollars. And a Super 2 car, front-running Super 2 car is about $70,000 a weekend to run.
A weekend?
Yeah, per weekend, yeah. So if you were to lease a car of AAA or a main game team, they're about $70,000 a round. So for them to a main game team to do a test day with you could be tens of thousands of dollars for a test day. And essentially we've never had that budget, because if we use that money to do a test or something, it took away from our season. So we've unfortunately Scott Taylor in the Aussie car was the only we've done a GT round, but there's only been a handful of rounds where we've driven for free essentially.
Yeah, so this year, you've decided to hang the boots for Super 2 and go to Trans Am. What's the goal for Trans Am this year?
Well, this year was just to be competitive. We didn't actually put a figure on it. And, if you look at the progression of our results this year, we've sort of started at pretty low at Tasmania. But, now we're in the top 3, essentially, last 2 rounds in terms of pace. And fighting against GRM, they've got 4-car team with Hearn and Owen Kelly, with Ambrose in their corner. So we are getting there. Sydney practice 1 will P1. So we're there or thereabouts. We've just got to fine tune it. And I'm really enjoying it because, Super 2, the level of the equipment between P1 and P10 was just ridiculous. Like the variance was just silly. So with this class, it's down to the team and the driver to make the rig that you got better. But you can't engineer anything. It's about making the very finer adjustments that the car has to move up the grid.
And talking about Tassie, you did have some struggles. I'm pretty sure you had contact in one of the races. So
yeah, took Nash out. Yep.
Yeah, unfortunate. That's right.
Yeah.
And you've had a little bit of struggles here and there, but you've pushed through, and now you're gonna continue on for the next round at the Bend. Is it the Bend?
QR in 2 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
We're on a back foot there. Sydney was really good for us because not many people got to test there. So, essentially, race 2, we were fighting for first and second, but a piece of debris come off the car in front and blocked my radiator. So we're there or thereabouts. QR is going to be a bit of a struggle for us because we weren't able to get up there to test prior. So I know a lot of the other teams have been up there to test. So, but we're confident. The good thing about driving for so long, it doesn't take you long to, get back into the groove. And I still do a lot of karting. So, if we can dial this car in there or thereabouts, we'll be up there to have a fight for the podium.
And just on a other note, you won the best presented team last round. So, obviously your car looks very good. The double before you dig, Mustang Trans Am. So, what was the secret to keeping a clean car?
So we paint our cars. We don't wrap them. So we've got one of our guys. He helps out Dad in the shed, and he paints everything. One little scratch, it comes off. He paints it. He polishes it. He loves it. So we had a color change. Every car that we've ever owned was green, and then this year we've transitioned to pink. So it takes a lot of pride in how it looks, and I think it shows on the track how much it stands out.
Yeah, 100%. I like the look of it. And, do you still have any cars on your bucket list that you would like to race one day?
Bucket list cars. Probably not cars, more events. 12-hour probably be one for me. And I would love to do a NASCAR event. That would probably be not a NASCAR, but an oval event like a K&N or something like that. That would be, I've got a speedway background. Not saying it's any similar, but with a Trans Am car, which is essentially a NASCAR chassis and a bit of speedway background, that would be on my bucket list for sure.
I'd like to go to America one day, do a couple races, maybe even compete in the NASCAR or IndyCar Championship. I quite
Formula
like.
V is quite large over there, isn't it?
I have no idea if it's large
No
in
idea.
America. I know it's
Yep.
in Brazil. It's quite well known. But yeah, I'm still trying to, sort out this year and next year, and then we'll
Yep.
see where we go from there. You're very well known for the doll before you dig on your cars. So have they sponsored you for a while now? And do you have any other sponsors you'd like to thank?
So Dog Fatigue has been with me now for 15 years. I guess my just quickly on that is any young kids that are looking for sponsors, and sometimes the biggest sponsor isn't necessarily going to hand you the biggest check at the very start. You got to build up a relationship with your sponsors. I've had them since karting and moved my way through, and we went from $0 to $100 to now racing Super 2 and Trans Am. So you build up the relationship, and it's been a great relationship between us, and hopefully it progresses on for a little bit longer until I get too old. But we do have some great sponsors like Bursons and Fuchs. They've come on with some oils. Just some small time sponsors. But unfortunately, as you know, it's quite hard to get sponsors.
Yep.
So we're very privileged to have just one real major one.
You also have a young family now, so do you think any of your kids will follow in your footsteps and race as well?
I don't know. It'd be cool to think so. Like I said, I still do karting now. Bought my daughter a go-kart a couple months ago. She wasn't super keen on it, but likes to enjoys being in the shed with me. So, maybe when my son Carter, he's 6 months old now, so still got 6 or 7 years to build up a Carter, or 10 years. But I'll let that be his decision. I don't want to push, my motorsport onto him if he doesn't enjoy it. I think to do well, like I said before, to do well in any motorsport, you need the passion. So if I put a go-kart in front of him and says, or cadence and say, go race, that passion isn't going to be built up. Where my old man, he was busy working, and essentially if my kart wasn't ready on Friday afternoon, we didn't go racing Saturday. And I guess that's what built the passion up.
Yeah, my dad was very big on teaching me how to work on my own car, because he's got a lot of wisdom, and he knows a lot about cars. So he tried to teach me karting, how to work on my own car, instead of other kids who sit in their trailers and let their mechanics do it all. I go out there to the shed, do the work a lot on my own, but my dad's also there helping me when he can. So I really do enjoy it. And I guess that's a part of the passion.
It is, absolutely. And to build up that skill set that you have, it opens up to where if you don't make it as a motorsport, as a driver, it opens you up to so many other things in the motorsport world. You obviously do podcasting. If you've got a mechanical background and you can drive, the world's your oyster. So that's, it's really great to see. And I said, I do a lot of karting still, and it's frustrating me to see the amount of kids that don't work on their karts. And, that's a skill, and that's what gives you knowledge to figure out how to change things and what to do.
And, we've been talking about advice for, younger people who want to get into motorsport. What's your personal advice to anyone who wants to give it a go?
Passion and hard work. If you're passionate and you put the hard work in, and I guess probably not for the kids, but more for the families, you're not going to be picked up by Triple Eight in 1 year. It's a long haul. You got to if all you can afford is a go-kart meeting, go to that go-kart meeting. Don't spend all your life savings to go to a one round of Formula Ford. But build up progression, and as you progress, you can build your sponsors up. Look, like I said, I'm 30 years old now, and I didn't make it as a motorsport. I didn't make it as a driver, but I've had a really great career that some people would dream of doing, and I'd much prefer to do that than Dad put all his money into 1 year of racing and we give up.
I can agree with you 100% there. I would rather, obviously, I'd love to, live the fantasy dream of going to Formula One and making millions of dollars every year. But, I think I would rather race, for a long time and enjoy what I love doing. And you
Yeah.
especially, like you said, if you stay in one category for too long, you get bored and you just want to, that's where you start to lose passion. So you've been able to jump from category to category, which I find really cool.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, mate. And like I said, hopefully we've got more to come. Owen Kelly, he's 45 years old and still kicking everyone's ass. So if you keep the passion up, keep your fitness up, and a bit of karting on the side that I still do, I think we've still got a long way to go. Just hopefully my sponsors, still enjoy the ride, and we can bring them along.
So,
Yes.
and for me, it's really been a pleasure speaking to you tonight, John. And it's been great to hear about your passion that you've had for motorsport. And you're obviously, really talented driver who's continued what you've been doing for lots of years. And that's what, like, you're really inspiring in that sense. You've been able to keep doing this for many years to motivate young drivers like myself.
No, I really appreciate it, mate. No,
Mm.
and congratulations to you by creating this podcast and getting involved with this sort of stuff. I hope the world's your oyster, and you move up, and one day I might be able to interview you on the grid in the supercar land or something.
Well, thank you so much, John. I hope the rest of the year goes well in Trans Am, and I'm really hoping to, get around soon, interview a couple more drivers and even meet some drivers in Trans Am or go to Supercars event or something like that. It'd be really
Yeah,
cool.
mate. Well, if you ever at a Trans Am event, you're more than welcome in our truck, and I can introduce you to whoever you want.
Yep. Thanks, John. And just quickly to everyone watching, make sure you jump over to John's Facebook page, and his Instagram page. Give him a follow because I know on his Instagram account, he put in his bio something about his old one being deleted. So, let's get him back some followers.
If any kids or doesn't matter how old you are, if you've got any questions about motorsport or classes, always happy to help. I've got a lot of information, and with what I've done and what I've done wrong. So if there's anyone that I can help out, just feel free to flip me a message.
Cool. And just one more thing, everyone. Just before we head off, I'd like to remind you all to hopefully you can like, share, and follow Flipping Out Motorsport on all of our social media channels, as well as listen to some of our old episodes on Spotify if you missed them. And if you're racing this weekend, remember, drive fast and take chances, safely, of course. Thanks, John.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.